Eric Trump. Eric, thanks for joining us. Big day. You know, I saw you tweet something about how much money Alvin Bragg and how much time they wasted in New York. It is just incredible. Go ahead, sir. Take it over.
Well, they did. I mean, Eric, first of all, great to be on. I flew in with my father. I spent every minute with him over the last 48 hours. And I flew into New York with him, and literally every intersection was closed. Every intersection had, NYPD officers with automatic rifles. The FDR Drive was closed. It was Fort Knox around Trump Tower. It was Fort Knox around the courthouse. There's motorcade routes all throughout the city. I mean, they spent $200 million, Eric, $200 million to go after my father for something that is not a crime, is something that's done every single day. They couldn't even name the crime in the actual indictment. This, by the way, Eric, is after spending 6 years. They subpoenaed 11 million documents from the Trump organization, sent us every single email you've ever had, every business deal you've ever done. They do through everything. They couldn't find a single thing. So they do an indictment for a $130,000 payment, and they spent $200 million of New York City resources to get there, shutting down the city. And by the way, that's not including a district attorney's office who's been spent the last 6 years, and again, investigating every aspect of my father. And yet you go into anywhere in New York, people are getting killed. There's homelessness. A couple months ago, I talk about it all the time because I think it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. A little girl was shot in the face in Times Square. You have women that are getting thrown in front of trains, in the subway. Homelessness is out of control. People are leaving New York City in droves. New York City and New York State has lost 3% of its population in the last 3 years. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are leaving. Their entire tax base is leaving. People don't feel safe there. Tourism is getting affected because people don't want to go into a dangerous area. But yet, what is Alvin Bragg doing? He's going after Donald Trump, a guy who's winning the Republican nomination by 35 points right now, is clearly the undisputed leader, going after him for a $130,000 payment, which was totally legal, that he made 6 years ago. This is the state of our country. This is the weaponization of politics we have in this country. And it's not just Alvin Bragg. You see it in Georgia. You see it with crooked Letitia James in New York, who campaigned. By the way, all of these guys campaigned, Eric, on the promise, we're going to go into office and we're going to get Donald Trump. We're going to sue the hell out of him. We're going to go after his family. We're going to go after his friends. We're going to go after everybody in his inner circle. We're going to go after his attorneys and his banks and his lenders and his, business relationships. We're going to go after every person in that orbit. And that's what they do. And by the way, Eric, they fundraised off of doing this. Not only did they promise it before they knew a damn thing because they weren't in the office, they fundraised on the fact that they were going to do it. And now, yesterday, they wasted $200 million and called up 38,000 NYPD officers to go after Donald Trump, a political rival, for $130,000. Give me a break. No one buys it. It doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't pass the smell test.
So, Eric, who do you think? Like, Alvin Bragg's a useful leader. He's the puppet. He's just there. He had nothing. He knew he had nothing. I mean, legal scholars will tell him he had nothing. But someone must be pulling his strings. Now, who do you think that might be?
Alvin Bragg even said he was never going to go after this. They looked at it. They looked at it on a federal level. There was nothing there. Alvin Bragg himself, Eric, said he was not going to go after this. And you know what happens? Soros gives him $1 million. And so guess what? He becomes the puppet to Soros. And this becomes a campaign promise of his to everybody. And then he goes on CNN. He goes on MSNBC. And how dare you? How dare you not go after Donald Trump? I mean, are you going to let us down? Are you going to let the people of New York down? They goaded him into doing it. He knew he didn't have a crime there. People are laughing about it. Van Jones is on CNN literally laughing about this. My father's worst political enemies, the rhinos, the Democrats, they're sitting there saying, hey, guys, you might have kind of, fired this one off a little bit too quickly. They're laughing at this whole indictment. But yet he's getting goaded into doing it. And the person who's paying him, none other than Soros, who's destroying our country, he's telling him, hey, you better go do this. I just gave you $1 million, and I'll probably give you more money if you go do it, right? He's doing the same thing in Atlanta. The exact same thing. They've weaponized the entire system. They couldn't get him through the executive branch. So guess what they do? They weaponize local DAs, AGs. They go after him. They go after his family. They go after all of us. Eric, if I had one thing that I had ever done wrong in my life, one crooked thing, 1/1000th of what Hunter Biden had done, I would be sitting in an orange suit right now in jail. And fortunately, I live a very, very clean life with a wife and kids that I love and a very, very clean business. They don't do a damn thing to Hunter Biden. He's got crack. He's got prostitution. He's got illegal deals. No one can tell me what product he sells that he can get millions of dollars out of China. What product was he selling that he could get millions of dollars out of Ukraine? Of course. People will come after us. You know the difference is we have country clubs and we have hotels and we've got great residential buildings and commercial buildings. You know what we do. We've been in real estate for the last 100 years. No one can tell what Hunter Biden sells, but you know what? They won't go after him. You know, he'll lie on a 4473, a firearms form, that he's not taking any illegal drugs. Guess what? They don't go after him. You think if I lied on a federal firearms form, I'd be in jail right now.
That's the point, Eric. You know, that really is the point, and the folks need to understand this. You like Trump or not, it doesn't matter. If they're going to do this to President Trump, forget citizen Donald J. Trump, which he is right now, they can do it to anybody. Anyone could be, if you're on the wrong side of their debate, their idea, their ideology, their policy, they can go after you if you let them get away with it. Eric, you mentioned Van Jones. There was a reporter on MSNBC. Take a listen to how they summed up yesterday. Watch.
When Trump came into the courtroom, he looked particularly angry, visibly shaken, and the most gaunt that I've seen him.
That is not a conqueror. That is a granddad having a very bad day.
You know, Eric, I've known your dad for a very long time, for 20 years. I've known him a very long time. Yeah, he was stoic. Okay, he's in a courtroom. But, and I've said this before, that what's going on right now seems to be spinach to Popeye. This isn't something that's going to derail Donald J. Trump for president, is it?
Spinach to Popeye might be the greatest analogy I've heard, and I think that's exactly right. I spent every minute of the last 48 hours, as I said, with my father. I've never seen a stronger man in my life. The guy is a rock. He's got backbones, the likes of which I've never seen before. To leave a courtroom only to fly to Florida to deliver a speech in front of thousands and thousands of people. He is more determined than ever before. He's more determined to save the country. He's more worried about the country ever before because of exactly what they're doing. The man is incredible. The man is an absolute rock. He's taken every single arrow for the Republican Party. He's taken every single fight, and he's had to fight every weaponized institution from the DOJ to the FBI, social media censorship, general media whose coverage of him, despite the incredible things that he did, 92% negative media coverage of him. He took on the entire media. He took on the entire establishment. He took on every single rhino. The rhinos are actually worse than the Democrats, if you want to know the truth, Eric. Took off every rhino. He took on the entire Democratic Party, and he won. And it's amazing. We landed in Palm Beach, and I hopped in the car with him, the Beast. And we're driving from Palm Beach International to Mar-a-Lago, and the streets were lined with people. They were lined with people, Eric, that were waving American flags. They're waving Trump flags. That were singing God Bless America. These people were so patriotic. They love my father. They love what he stands for. They love that he's standing up for this nation. They see the bullets he's taken and how unfair those bullets are. He's fighting for every single one of them. And as a son, I've never been more proud of my father than I have been over the last 48 hours. And I mean that sincerely. I was proud of him when he won the damn election. He did an incredible job. And the fight that we all went through was incredible. That was an emotional day. I was proud of him when he, on his final day, as we took that final trip back to Florida on Air Force One. I'll never forget that day. I'm telling you, I've never been more proud of him. The day he walked out of that courtroom and he hopped on the plane, he went and delivered that speech. Because honestly, what they're doing is third world. They're impressing Vladimir Putin with their tactics. And I said this the other night. I promise you, Eric, we're going to beat these guys. People in this country are incredibly smart. They know you don't spend $200 million of resources in a city who has run out of resources to go after a political opponent, the former president of the United States, a guy who has been absolutely lambasted by fake scandal after fake scandal after fake scandal that has been disproven for a perfectly legal $130,000 payment. It doesn't make any sense when people are getting murdered in the street, when people are getting shot on Fifth Avenue. It makes no sense at all. Alvin Bragg should be ashamed of himself. Letitia James should be ashamed of himself, and all of these people. We have to stop the games. We have to stop the nonsense. We have to let the democratic process prevail.